I'm giving away this championship belt once I hit 100,000 subscribers. Welcome back to the Angle Show. I, of course, am Angle. I want to kick things off with some good news surrounding AEW. There's some very good things happening right now with AEW, and most importantly, one of the strongest things about AEW is their relationship with Warner Bros. Discovery. And on this channel, we talk a lot about the TV deals and stuff like that. Andrew Zarian reported that the AEW Dynamite show is listed on the schedule for TBS through the third quarter of 2025. Now, obviously, TV schedules and listings can always change, obviously, and it could change with like a snap of a finger, but this is like some really good news for AEW if accurate, largely due to the fact that AEW is only 4 or 5 years in, and obviously Tony Khan has been very, very high on his relationship with Warner Bros. Discovery. Plus, there's talks and rumors of AEW expanding with more pay-per-views and the HBO Max streaming app. Obviously, with AEW going this route, it would be a very big win. And most importantly, for AEW, one of the big things that a lot of people need to understand is that when you have a great relationship with a TV network, the longevity of your business, it's kind of like some cushion, right? And I think that's one thing that a lot of people seem to overlook. With WWE, they went from USA to Fox, and now SmackDown is going back to USA. And obviously, WWE has some great relationships, and WWE is trying to grow their TV business, hence why they're getting these big deals. But that's not necessarily what is expected for a company like AEW, because if you can't float and you can't survive, then typically your TV shows get cut, and then you start going to some random-ass TV network that nobody watches. So in this case, it's actually really good for AEW to have that relationship. And again, it just seems like this relationship has been built upon some sort of relationship where AEW, despite the numbers going up and down, Warner Bros. Wants AEW. Now, with that being said, of course, AEW does take a back seat to like the MLB playoffs or the NBA playoffs and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it doesn't change the fact that Warner Bros. Is very, very high on AEW. And I think that's a very good thing. And it's a very telling sign that their relationship is very strong. Guys, a WWE executive is gone from the company. Suzette Ramirez-Carr, who was an executive vice president of human resources, will be leaving the company on November 3rd. Brandon Thurston and WrestleNomics actually reported this news today after WWE president Nick Khan shared the departure in an email to all WWE staff. This was also confirmed by WrestleVotes on Twitter. She reported directly to Vince McMahon, and now she has revealed she's stepping down. Is this a sign of things that could potentially happen? Now, keep in mind, one of the biggest things, too, is that Endeavor, obviously Endeavor brought UFC and WWE together as part of TKO, and we don't really know the specifics here. Is this something where maybe they've asked her to step down? Because obviously she wasn't cut from the WWE, and obviously, as you guys know by following this channel, WWE did cut a lot of executives once the merger was completed. So what could be the reason for her leaving the company? And sometimes people just leave because they find a different position or they find a better opportunity. Maybe they don't want to work anymore. I mean, there's a million reasons as to why somebody would leave the company. Obviously, a lot of people on social media are talking about this because of the fact that she worked and reported directly to Vince. But something like this, I don't really think is as big of a deal. Most people probably don't even know who a lot of these executives are. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but the nature of the business is that people are going to come and go. And it's going to be really interesting to see the effects from a backstage perspective, how the merger really impacts WWE. Because when you look at the UFC and WWE bringing staff together, is there going to be a difference in the quality of things that are happening behind the scenes, especially from a corporate standpoint? For a while, there was a lot of reports about WWE just being really, really hard to work at, in headquarters. Maybe with TKO, that is something that changes. Obviously, huge workload and work-life balance is almost non-existent in a company like that. But that's pretty much how it is anytime you work for these larger companies in a larger capacity. So it's going to be interesting to see what changes. I think more so, I'm more interested in like the graphic department and the marketing department, kind of like that stuff, because there was talks that maybe UFC people would be taking over that responsibility. And I think there's a lot of things that WWE can implement from influence just by being associated with them. And I think the same could be said for UFC as well. But definitely something to pay attention to, something that's definitely intriguing. And now that brings us to our final story of today's video, guys. We're going to be talking about Undertaker coming to NXT. This sounds so crazy, and the fact that we're even talking about it is just somewhat ridiculous. But WWE is firing on all cylinders when they go head-to-head with AEW Dynamite. PW Insider reported that while there is no word 100% on whether or not The Undertaker will appear on NXT, the word around the Performance Center yesterday and today has been that Undertaker will be in Orlando next week, including Tuesday. There is this belief that WWE could potentially announce it ahead of time or maybe even keep it as a surprise. Some recent tweets from BWE came out, and it sounds like they might be going towards a Undertaker and Joe Gacy segment, which I think could make a lot of sense. You know, the thing is, a lot of people are talking about WWE having main roster stars and legends coming to NXT for this episode. Great, it's one night only. They're trying to push it. Fantastic business move, regardless of what a small percentage of people on the internet say. It's a very smart business move. But I really do commend WWE for putting some of these up-and-coming guys with legends, right? I don't think people really understand how important it is that somebody gets a rub from somebody who's respected. And if we get Undertaker and Joe Gacy in the segment, that could be a really big deal for Joe Gacy because he has been rumored for a main roster call-up. Now the Dyad are gone from WWE. Schism is pretty much no more a thing. And I like Joe Gacy, and he could be spooky, and he could be a very interesting, psychotic character, dark, cryptic character. Having some sort of segment, whether it's a pep talk or something from The Undertaker, I just feel like it would be so beneficial. And if WWE is doing that with this episode of NXT, I support it 1,000%. If WWE is just throwing these people on the episode just for the ratings boost without the idea of helping up-and-coming talent, I don't think it's beneficial. And then that's where I start to believe they are truly desperate. But I think WWE is making a very smart business decision. I think a lot of people are going to disagree with that decision. But at the end of the day, WWE is trying to get a new TV deal. And let's not forget that. I know a lot of people think WWE is using this as a way to attack AEW or compete with AEW to stop them from growing. But also at the same time, too, you guys got to remember NXT ratings have been increasing a lot lately. It's got a lot of momentum. Ticket sales are great when they go on these PLEs. And when you add the implementation of these legends and these big names coming to the show, and you're starting to really do wonders for the show, you're showing other investors, you're showing other TV networks the value that NXT can have for their TV network. And that right there is a big reason why as to why WWE is doing this. So keep that in mind. WWE wants those big paying deals. They got it with SmackDown. Now we wait and see what happens with Raw and NXT. And I think that's a big part of this. Don't forget, I'm giving away this championship at 100,000 subscribers. So go ahead and click subscribe today.